Welcome to NFL Daily, where we wear our NFL Network polos, even on days we're not required to. And by we, I mean Patrick Claybon, who's with me in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. Good to have you back.
Good to be back. It's when you wear a polo here, like a network polo, nobody questions anything. I could wear whatever as long as I throw this polo on.
Okay.
Nobody has anything to say. So I love it.
Yeah, you got the shorts on. And you look at those polos, they just fit just right. And yeah, it is good to have Patrick back. Our first ITC friend who's going to be with us a lot in the studio all season long, that's back off the road. And we got Steve Weiss and Colleen Wolfe coming up next week regularly, and it's all happening. And I'm excited. We got our friends from the Fantasy Football Podcast coming, your buddies, Marcas, Grant, and Mike Florio, for a big-time draft.
We're going to invade the studio. It's just all fantasy in here.
So, yeah, we're going to
fantasy legend Gregg Rosenthal, by the way.
Don't you forget it. 4 people, 7 rounds. We're going to take all the skill position players and just do a little mock draft, so you get a little feeling of the top 30 maybe in NFL drafts, but also the top at the tight end and in quarterback positions. That's going to come in just a little bit, but first let's do some news. Well, what else am I going to talk about other than Brandon Aiyuk? This man is holding the NFL world hostage right now. That's not his fault. These things are complicated. As we're taping, Patrick, some updates here.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, since we last taped, is back in the mix. Apparently, they were really never out of the mix, but they weren't meeting the potential trade terms that the 49ers were hoping for. The Patriots are out of the mix. They did that thing, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, where they are no longer in the Brandon Aiyuk sweepstakes because Brandon Aiyuk, apparently, according to CSN Bay Area, made it pretty clear he did not want to go to the Patriots. So it was more like he chose to not do it. And I did have this theory, and I threw it out there a couple of nights ago, that maybe the 49ers are just putting these teams out there that they kind of know Brandon Aiyuk doesn't want to go to, really, which is the Browns and the Patriots. The teams he does want to go to apparently were the Commanders, who are out, and then the Steelers. And as we tape this, to me, it seems increasingly likely that the Steelers story might happen, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, if it's down to Brandon Aiyuk's choice, which the team is going to want to negotiate a deal, right? Because if you're trading for Brandon Aiyuk, you want him long term. And if his choice dictated not the Patriots and the Commanders are out, then who else is left?
Well, the Browns, in theory, are there, and they have the one player in Amari Cooper that if they sent him to San Francisco, maybe the 2024 Niners aren't that much worse. We'll see. I want to kind of hold my my takes for now until we know what's official. So
takes on ice.
We'll leave it there with Aiyuk. I mean, I think it's a mistake no matter what by the 49ers. But how big of a mistake, we'll find out. Unfortunately, a lot of the news this time of year is injury news. And CMC, Brandon Aiyuk's teammate, was hurt, is going to miss a couple weeks because of a calf strain. We'll hit on CMC a little bit in the fantasy draft, so don't need to stay there. But that's a little concerning for a player like him who's had some issues over the years to have a soft tissue injury this early. So that's concerning. Even more concerning is Josh Downs' injury at Colts practice today. He is out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. Was one of my absolute favorite breakout picks. Could still do it, but now he's got an obstacle to start the season.
And what makes it even worse, right? It comes on 7-on-7s in training camp, and Nick Cross goes down. They go to the ground. Like, obviously, like, all of these injuries are bad, but that one's completely unnecessary. And you hear it like so much. Hey, coach, what do you want out of this? We want to get healthy into the season. And to have an injury on 7-on-7s in a situation where guys are taking guys to the ground, like, that's a tough one.
Shane Steichen, their coach, was not pleased with it in his press conference. And Nick Cross, you could tell, felt bad about it, but he said he was just trying to play football. And Josh Downs to me is their clear number 2 in Indianapolis right now. They're playing him outside, they're playing him inside, and they'll figure out how the A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce snaps and tight end targets work out. But to me, it was a very clear one. I thought Josh Downs is going to have a big year. High ankle sprains are tough. You would almost hope, not from a fantasy football realm, but from a reality realm, maybe just wait till he's all the way back, even if it's week 4 or week 5, because these
Right.
are just one of those injuries you see so many times. Guys come back too early. Another injury at the wide receiver position was Rondale Moore of the Atlanta Falcons, penciled in, I would say, to be their third wide receiver. Unfortunately, his injury had to involve an air cast, which is never a good sign, and immediately taken to a hospital.
Yeah, it's awful. The video of teammates reacting was enough to me. Didn't see any particular injury video or pictures, but just the aircast being invoked lets you know that this is going to be time, and in a contract year for Rondale after he's finishing up that rookie contract that came out in the desert, and like people throw out like satellite back or like a guy that's going to
He
be
was a running back at
gadget
one
guy.
point. Yeah,
But the gadget is getting yards and having production, and he could do that. And I wanted to see what it was going to look like in Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought it would be good for him to be in, for lack of a better word, just like a more normal offense. And they're thin at wide receiver anyways. I thought he was the solid 3, and then there's a pretty big drop-off behind Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and then Moore. And so that it's devastating for Moore, and it's also something that the Falcons front office and coaching staff will have to address. Just quickly, just a couple items before we get to the fantasy draft. Really looking forward to that. Connor Williams, the center, who last year was with the Dolphins, ended up signing with the Seahawks. Much needed for that team. Justin Simmons is visiting the Saints. We'll follow up on that if that deal actually happens, but that would be a nice move for New Orleans. Titans starting guard Sadiq Charles retired. Young man, and they've had a bad couple of weeks, Titans, just in terms of surprising absences. DeAndre Hopkins obviously had that injury. They lost Arden Key to a suspension. Chidobe Awuzie has been out all of camp, so not great news for the Titans in general.
Yeah, it's a rough in an off season with a lot of excitement, especially considering the nuke news, and now you're worried about up front. You got a second-year quarterback. It's tough.
I think he's like 26, 27 years old. And yeah, Coach Brian Callahan said he was really surprised by it. But this happens in training camp. Player, he came in, he just said football is not for him anymore. The Lions and Giants are fined $200,000 each. That's a lot of money for all their fights the other day at practice. The NFL is trying to discourage fighting, even though coaches encourage fighting. I thought that was interesting. That's a new wrinkle. And then I just want to say rest in peace to Dwayne Thomas, who holds an interesting place in football and Dallas Cowboys history because he was an electric young running back when he came onto that team, but he also held out for more money and sort of had a holdout at a time when that was crazy in the NFL, just looking for anything. And also, I think of him because he was the subject of a really good book by Dr. Z, Paul Zimmerman. It was called Dwayne Thomas and the end of the Cowboys era, I believe. And it provided an interesting look at a unique player. And it had a story in it that always stuck with me, that the voters voted him Super Bowl MVP. And then because at the time, Super Bowl MVP was sponsored by a magazine. It was called Sport Magazine. And the editor of Sport Magazine was worried that when Dwayne Thomas accepted the award later in the offseason at the banquet and the free car that came with it, that's a big deal for these players who were making like $20,000 a year, that he was going to fly off the handle or something. So he just made an executive decision and in the moment handed the award to Roger Staubach, who went 11 for 19 for like 117 yards. And to Staubach's credit, he has went out of his way publicly to say that should have been Dwayne Thomas's award over and over. So rest in peace, Dwayne Thomas, an interesting guy. I do like to think about the history of the game.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there's a media environment that would probably be a lot more understanding and accepting of Dwayne, who was an outspoken athlete, especially a black athlete in the early 70s, called Gil Brandt a liar, said Tom Landry was a plastic man. And ultimately that level of honesty and access, he had some trouble. He got racially profiled. They found some weed in the car, right? It's a familiar story. But the way that the perception of him went out by a media that was not very friendly, I do wish that, a lot of these guys had a different opportunity in a media environment that would accept them a little bit more.
Yeah, so he had that rookie just outstanding season, and then in the offseason, like I mentioned, he wanted to renegotiate, and that just didn't happen at the time, and called Tom Landry the Plastic Man. Oh, it takes some guts to call Tom Landry the Plastic Man in 1971. But if you dig underneath the hood a little bit, there was a lot of similar criticism about Tom Landry back in the day, as great a coach, obviously, as he was. So rest in peace, Dwayne Thomas. And just one little thing, housekeeping here, Patrick.
Okay.
Before we get to the fantasy draft, I want Randy, Eric's back from paternity leave, to throw up on the board our graphic here, our team deep dive board, because I've heard from the fans. They're mad. Why you spend so much time on the LA team? Oh, you're always talking about the Eagles. And so we've created a board. We're going to go deep on all 32 teams at some point. It's going to take a while. We can't do this all in a week. And you'll see on the YouTube show, we've highlighted. I don't know what color that is because I'm colorblind.
It's green. It's a highlighted green.
I thought it was yellow. See, and that's where, frankly, you guys are being insensitive. And yeah, we've highlighted the teams that we've already taken care of. We've done 5 so far. So 27 to go. Looking forward to that. But we'll do it throughout the course of the season so everyone feels like they get, the right cut.
Y'all are better than me because I would have left the team off and just gaslit somebody.
I know.
That would have been great.
I was like, should we highlight the Bengals? We did kind of do it with Nick Wesseling, but that was more personal talk early on. No, Bengals will get their time. All right, we're going to have our time with Marcas Grant and Mike F. Florio, fantasy experts around here. Along with Claybon. Don't sleep on Claybon as a fantasy expert.
I have proximity to greatness included right now.
Mock draft coming after this. Oh, yeah, we're back on NFL Daily, and I'm excited. The studio, the Chris Wesseling podcast studio, is as full as it's been in weeks. We've now got the fantasy crew has joined Patrick Claybon and I, Marcas Grant, and Mike F. Florio. Welcome to NFL Daily.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be. I love this music. It's like an off-brand 60s James Bond spy thriller. Like, I'm really digging it, though.
It could also be a game show. It could be a fantasy draft.
It's Jim Coalesce is the character.
I love it. I love how much you guys have taken fantasy at the NFL to another level. Like Florio's hair here. Just trying to separate himself even more from the other Mike Florio. I actually forgot. I called you Mike Florio saying you were coming up on the show, and people were like, you got to say Mike F. Florio.
I mean, I don't care, but the other...
It's confusing. If he doesn't know anything about fantasy, I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So yeah, of course, you can check out the fantasy podcast that we do, and Fantasy Live is going to be coming up sooner than later, and Patrick's involved in that too.
Next week.
Monday, August 12th is when we start back up. Yeah.
Great programming, and this is going to be fun. So I thought what we'd do is a mock draft. I've done very little fantasy prep so far, so I made a little big board that Patrick is cheating off, and in the interest of time, we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to pick an entire starting group of skill position players. So quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. And that's it. And there's just 4 of us. So we'll go around 7 times. We're going to put 1 minute on the clock each time. And, we'll talk about the picks and try to give some analysis and something extra, Marcas. Don't just sit there and be silent.
I will participate.
I'm excited about that.
I will participate.
All right. So we randomized this before we started taping. And it's going to sound like the fix is in, but I got the fix.
It's 25%. It's 25% chance. I think people can understand.
Well, you know what I want to do, and we're gonna go clockwise. So, Randy, behind the glass, let's start here, and I'm gonna go like way off the board, anyways, of anyone you guys would take. I'm taking Justin Jefferson first overall.
Ooh.
This is one of those things where if you're not watching or paying attention to fantasy all offseason, and then you look at the list and like Justin Jefferson's the 6th wide receiver. I don't get it. Explain it to me. Like, I don't care. I think he's the best player in the NFL. I'd rather have a receiver right now than a running back. I'm taking Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, he was on pace in the games he played without Kirk Cousins for 2,000 yards last year.
Yes.
So maybe he is just quarterback proof, but the reason he's fallen where he is because all those other wide receivers are coming back to the exact same situation, and he has a quarterback downgrade.
The quarterback downgrade, is it enough, right? Because they give Jefferson the money. I know that they're going to flood him with targets. They're absolutely going to flood him with targets. The Addison situation probably has an impact in that as well. I don't.
I'm not worried.
As well.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's a ridiculous pick. It's just that everybody has sort of been scared off because of Sam Darnold. That's it.
They'll create passing yards. All right, so that means the minute is up, and we're going clockwise
So
here.
I'm up.
Florio, you're next.
Okay, I'll go with who I would have went at first overall. Look, I know a lot of people are expecting me to say CMC here, but I'm gonna go with CeeDee Lamb because just like you, I want the wide receivers early. We have to start the most of them, so I will take CeeDee there.
Okay. The thing with CeeDee Lamb being so high to me is like, I don't know. I just hate the guy coming off his career year, so I just push back against that almost immediately.
Regression candidate. Greg calling for the.
Not regression, but just like going into last year, he wasn't the first overall, so I still like CD and Tyreek just like a little bit better.
Sure.
Maybe AJ Brown.
And I get that, but with all the great things CD did last year, like what's really changed in the Cowboys offense? I mean, they still have to lean on him. Now you have Brandon Cooks, who's a year older. They don't know who really the number 2 wide receiver is there. It was such a great offseason. They went and brought Zeke back.
He's not at training camp. That's different. The running game might be terrible.
One thing that impacted CD's draft position last year was people bought into this myth that Mike McCarthy was going to come in and they were going to pound the rock, baby. They didn't run the ball at all.
That's a good point. Man, a minute goes fast.
Really
you got to
quick.
be ready for your pick, Marcus.
Well, I mean, look, you fell all the way to minute 3, so I'm gonna take Christian McCaffrey. I mean, why not? Like, I get it. He's nicked up. He's gonna miss some time, but it's still a guy who's gonna occupy a large portion of one of the best offenses in the NFL. I'm gonna take CMC.
I only needed to see that injury where he has a calf strain. He's out for a couple weeks of practice, and I'm a little spooked. Like a soft tissue injury, like maybe it'll be nothing and it'll be totally fine, but when there's great other running back options, I actually would not have him I have him third now among my running backs.
I think the people who aren't going to draft CMC because of this probably weren't going to draft him anyway. I'm more concerned about Trent Williams' issues related to CMC than I am. Like, it's a calf. Christian isn't going to forget how to play football these next couple of weeks. Why would Kyle have him do anything?
Which, by the way, it is wild that nobody's been talking about Trent Williams with all the other things happening.
Right.
Around that team.
When there's
Literally the most important thing on the team.
My son Walker got CMC somehow 9th in a kids draft, which just proves like kids are
9th.
stupid. Last year. It was last year. They're young and dumb.
Those kids are on the podcast. They're in the news. That's why he's falling. Okay, I will take the guy who's on pace to have 1 billion yards last year in Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
I don't know. Low hanging fruit. Tastes good.
I think he would have a good argument for being first overall. It would be I would be totally fine with that. Maybe you get a little worried. There's not quite as many 60-yard plays in this offense, but
people, I think,
there
look
are.
at it and they're like, "Oh, well, CeeDee Lamb was the wide receiver 1 last year." And it's like, no. Tyreek Hill was running away with it until he suffered that ankle injury.
Still wild to think he left Patrick Mahomes and somehow his stats got better.
Yeah.
right. And he's the number 1 player in the NFL according to the
players of the
who
NFL.
probably voted in like mid-November when I was honking about Tyreek Hill winning MVP. So I think
he should have if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think if they're looking at it from distance from his peers, right? I think it's a pretty good case.
Yeah.
Like now that Aaron Donald's not in anymore.
You could also make the case for CMC then too. I don't know where he finished, but
number 1, right? Oh, in the best players overall. I don't know. People hating on CMC. You are aware, Patrick, it's a snake draft here. You get to go back to back.
Oh.
You have to be ready. I see you kind of easing up. We're trying to be fair because they're going to put it up on graphics after the show. Who had the best team? We can have the listeners, the viewers vote on who was best. Maybe we'll even keep track best ball rules
season.
or something.
Okay.
And if I don't do well, you'll never hear about it again. If I win, I'll bring it back up.
Well, snaking back to me gives me an opportunity to. I haven't been in, but I'm in. Bijan, let's do it.
Ooh, yeah. No, it's hard to not be in on Bijan. The biggest thing for all of us is that like Arthur Smith's not there to galaxy brain this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
I had him one. It was I picked on the clock. I wasn't expecting to have 1 overall, but it was either him or Jefferson.
I mean, like there's no chance that suddenly like Mike Cole Pruitt's going to get goal line carries. It's just not going to happen this year.
No.
They did
My
kind of
Bible
like use Tyler Algier though. They were saying in like a little team scrimmage at night that he was getting half the first team reps. Any concern there?
Maybe enough to split hairs between him and another running back who hasn't gone yet, but there's a clear-cut top 3 running backs.
Okay, I don't think there's a secret. I think there's a clear-cut top 4, so we'll disagree there. But
all right.
yeah, Bijan didn't do anything his rookie year that got me off my spot of like this is going to be the best fantasy running back for the next 5 years in aggregate, even if he's not one every single year. He's the man.
And he's got his own mustard out now too, which I feel like we can
Really? Bijan's Dijon?
Yep.
Yeah. I love that.
Sitting right there. All right,
Right there.
Marcus.
It's right there. All right. So I know we got a couple of we got 3 wide receivers off the board. I took a running back. I'm gonna go wide receiver here. And for me, the next best available wide out is going to be Jamar Chase. Look, Joe Burrow's back and healthy again. Those two seem to have some sort of mind meld since their days at LSU. They're even so connected they both shave their heads at the same time. That's how in lockstep they are. I think a healthy Jamar Chase, a healthy Joe Burrow, just sort of go destructo on the AFC North this year.
I'm selective about what camp hype I'm willing to believe in, but for some reason, like Joe Burrow, just looking all the way back at camp, I'm believing in that because Jamar Chase quietly had his best year by far as a rookie, and it does feel like he's kind of due right now to have that career year type of year, and that there's a big drop off between him and T. Higgins. I was the guy who was like, T. Higgins is almost like 1AB, but he's really not.
No, he's not.
He's gonna have a video game season eventually where he goes for like 1,700 yards or whatever. That's coming. But I'm picking the other running back there. I said it's a clear-cut top 3. Give me Breece Hall, who had 1 goal line carry last year and still was the RB2 in fantasy football.
That's one where I was surprised when I saw the average draft position that he's getting so high. To me, that seems like a slight projection. I don't know.
He was the RB2 last year, despite the slow start and the no touchdowns and no Aaron Rodgers.
And the bad quarterback situation.
Literally coming back from that ACL repair, and so now he's had a full off season, full season. I don't see why, as much as I would love to be cautious on all things Jets, but
offensive line should be better.
Yeah,
he's the one Jet that I feel good about. Yeah. The rest, not so much.
I guess
Garrett Wilson.
I guess you could be freaked out injury-wise about anyone, but for some reason, because it's happened, I'm more freaked out injury-wise about him.
Fair.
And he's very big play reliant. Maybe not quite as many, like 5, 6.
He's big play reliant because he makes big plays.
The injury thing is what I separate Bijan and Breece all from. But
this is why they kicked me out of the fantasy community. I think I wrote him down 5th or 6th at running back.
I want to know who's in your clear-cut top 4.
Yeah, I guess we're about to hear.
We're about to find out. He's got back-to-back picks.
Maybe I'll take him back-to-back here. Let's go. Well, Saquon would be one place to start. Why would he not be? I think people are overthinking it. He passed the eye test last year that he is still very much Saquon, running behind one of the better offensive lines in the league, even though they lost a couple pieces there in Philadelphia. Like, they are going to have touchdown opportunities. I think he's going to catch the ball more. They've been doing that at camp. I don't doubt the talent. Like, just such a better situation. I think he's as safe as it gets.
I think it sort of ends up being a wash, right? Because he's in a much better offense. You mentioned a much better offensive line. The difference is the Eagles won't have to lean on him the way the Giants did. Like, he was the Giants' offense. So it's like, we've got to feed him touches. Like, here, they can give him the ball. They can get it to A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. I mean, they can spread it around a little bit more. So I think that's the difference.
And I feel like we're going to learn a little bit more about Saquon and the Eagles as well, because he's not going to come off the field. There's not going to be as much rotation at the running back position. So we could see, whereas Saquon in the passing game in New York was like, God, what are we going to do? Literally, like, this is the only thing we can do with our passing. Is get Saquon involved. Now I think it's more incorporated.
And everyone's afraid of the tush-push stealing touchdown. DeAndre Swift and Saquon had the same number of goal line carries last year.
There we go.
Even if he's losing some to Jalen Hurts, being on a better offense.
You got to believe in the talent, and the situation's great. All right, now, you're not going to find out who's in my tier because I only have one wide receiver left in my first tier of receivers, too, so I'm going to take him instead. I'm going to stack some Eagles. Saquon and A.J. Brown, put them on the same team. Get all the Eagles touchdowns. I just feel like maybe I'm too basic these days when it comes to fantasy that, like, if they're that good and they're in the middle of their prime, I try not to think about it too deeply. That I just can't imagine A.J. Brown not having an incredible and dominant season. Whether he's as good as Chase and Tyreek, like, we'll see. But to me, he's in that tier of wide receivers. Tell me I'm wrong.
He is the most disrespected elite wide receiver because he doesn't go, like, in early drafts, it's the top 5 guys, and then, like, you'll see Bijan and Breece, and then the other receivers start to go. And, like, I'm always like, A.J. Brown belongs in that group. Like, he's not far behind any of them, and yet he's got a great quarterback. He's got a new OC that could get the most out of him, I believe. So, yeah, I'm excited for that.
Make your own list, people. Like, this is where I like, just take the guys you want. It's not, like, reality is going to be a lot less predictable.
I mean, I won't say disrespected, but I think he's the elite receiver that also has another elite receiver alongside of him, right? So I think that's the fear.
And also how they finished. is going to influence people. If the season ended in week 8, it's like, oh my God, AJ Brown.
Oh, what? You don't like that the quarterback doesn't respect the head coach? I mean, it seems like a mild issue.
Only if they're losing.
Who's next? I'm now confused
Me,
with the
right?
snake. All right, go.
So
Go for it.
You left this one on the board there. I'm going to take the Arya Stark of the NFL world
no.
and give me Amon-Ra St. Brown, who can go out there and look, you talk about the great year he had last year. Then you watch receiver and you're like, every body part of his was hanging on by a thread by like week 4. So imagine what this guy could be with a healthy foot and a healthy oblique in what we know is going to be one of the best offenses in football.
Constantly loaded up with targets, always open. The injury concerns, right? He did miss that time, but it's like that's everybody. And that's one thing I've been trying to get out of my vocabulary for the entire. If he stays healthy, you can apply that to every person on the planet. I'm done.
I'm salty because I was really hoping. I was hoping he would
took
fall
your
one
guy.
All right,
more
I'm looking at
spot.
this ADP with Claybon, and he's going 8th overall.
I
in a lot of leagues.
really was hoping he'd fall one
He
more
was the
spot.
wide receiver 3 last
Yeah.
year, despite the missed time.
8 isn't high enough.
No, I have him ahead of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Not that crazy. All right, Marcus.
See, now we're at a spot where I'm not in love with anybody at this particular ADP, but I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor because I feel like we haven't talked a lot about him, as a fantasy community. Like when we talk about the Colts, we've been focusing on Anthony Richardson and the rushing upside, and can he be another Cam Newton type, and on and on and on. But like, let's not forget who Jonathan Taylor was when he was fully healthy, and to have those two guys in the backfield, I think, is potentially amazing for this offense. I think he gets a ton of opportunity. I think he scores a bunch of touchdowns. I just feel like he's sort of flying under the radar, if that's possible.
Whenever I do drafts on a podcast, I have immediate regrets, and my first immediate regret is that I didn't take Taylor, that I took AJ Brown over Taylor. That was the other running back in my group.
4?
Because when you have a guy that used to be going 1st or 2nd overall in fantasy, and everything is geared up because he's healthier now, the offensive line for a monster season, and Chris Ballard is like, the one guy I'll talk about is Jonathan Taylor is going to have a monster season. I buy it, and yeah, that's a good pick.
AJ Brown was a good pick as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't be mad. Let's get another Lion. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Ooh.
It's honestly because people are, you could say, the big play criticism, like all these other things he's having to share time. The time that we saw Jahmyr Gibbs in his rookie year, I'll take that year again. Like I'm comfortable with getting that year again here at this point in the draft, and I'm not even going to worry about it.
Yeah, they're a
Could be
team.
so much better too.
Yeah.
I think he is getting better just as a player. They are a team where it just feels like they can't be better than they were last year. The yards, though, will shake out maybe I don't know if Amon-Ra can get quite as much as he got a year ago, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs can get more. No.
Yeah, I still worry. I mean, I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I just worry that David Montgomery still exists, and he's going to get a lot of work there in Detroit.
Good. Give my guy a break.
And he's awesome. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is closer, I think, to the rest of these running backs who already went, whereas if I just wanted an actual NFL running back for one game, he might be the best running back in the league. I think there's a chance that he's that talented. We're that talented. There isn't a podcast out there that's giving any better fantasy advice than this right now. Well, except for Micah, Florio, Marcas is. But we are going to take a quick break, and we'll come back for the grand finale of this draft. Rounds 4 through 7. We flew through that pretty quick.
Yeah.
We stayed busy.
Nimble.
Back on NFL Daily. Going to be the second half of the most influential, consequential fantasy draft of the season.
Ever.
If I do well, we're coming back to this. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to fly up our teams so far. Eric and Randy behind the glass. You can look at the teams that we have so far. I have an all NFC team. Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, and Saquon Barkley, so you can follow along. We'll look at the complete teams at the end of the show, but they're going to roll through them now if you're just catching up. But we are back, and it's a snake in the draft here. Patrick, you're up.
Okay, so I was able to satisfy my running back position. I do want to remind people that, if you're listening to this draft and want to have your actual draft strategy, all the drafts aren't going to be this compact and concise. And ultimately, I like talent, and I think talent is going to overcome a whole lot. And it's a risk because I need him to overcome a whole lot, but I'll take Devontae Adams.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
That's totally reasonable.
Because, again, volume is king, and if Devontae's getting volume, he's getting buckets. Is he going to be upset about some balls being thrown to places they shouldn't be? Yes. But the reason he's upset is because he cares, and I want him on my squad.
He helped get Jimmy up out of there. So, I mean, that's one less.
Somebody had to.
That's one less guy to complain about. Look, I mean, I know everybody's worried about the quarterback situation, but I'm with you. He's still one of the most talented receivers in this league, and he's by far going to be the target monster in this offense, and that's mostly what we want.
I had him 7th at wide receiver, and that was after going to Raiders practice this week and seeing Aiden O'Connell triple pump on every throw an interception like every pass. It was not pretty, and yet it's Devontae. He'll get yards.
All right, so I am up, and like Patrick, I have satisfied my running back requirement here. So I'm going to go back to the wide receiver spot. This is a couple of different options here. But I am going to go with Garrett Wilson at this spot. This is a dude who was, just outside the top 25, had over 1,000 yards, 95 catches last year with awful quarterback play. And so the expectation being that Aaron Rodgers is healthy. I don't even need Aaron Rodgers to be like great vintage Aaron Rodgers. I just need him to be, even if he's 80% of the peak Aaron Rodgers, that's light years better than anything he had last year. And so if he was able to get 1,000 yards with that quarterback crew, I'm excited about what he can give you with a decent quarterback.
I think he has the perfect recipe for fantasy value because he has the great quarterback, but he doesn't have great competition.
No.
It's kind of thin there. Like, is Mike Williams ever going to really be healthy? I guess he just came off the PUP list, but
I like Malachi Corley more than him personally.
that's a projection. That's a stretch.
I'm up, right?
Yes.
Should I go with the safe pick or the splash?
No,
the
go for
fun
it.
Splash,
All right.
man.
Give me Marvin Harrison Jr.,
Woo! All right.
Dang.
who I have as a top 10 wide receiver in my
Wow. That's a little... I didn't even have him in my top 20. Maybe I'm
Oh.
crazy.
In hindsight, it makes so much sense because myself and Michael Florio, firm Kyler camp folks.
Yes.
And so to see him with a top tier wide receiver like this, I understand the.
We've seen it already like when he had D-Hop was routinely like putting up top 5, top 10 numbers. And I think Marvin Harrison, like, I'm not going to say rookie year Marvin Harrison could be D-Hop, but he could be D-Hop, right?
He could be rookie.
He could stretch the field. He could thrive in the red zone. Like, I don't see. I'm very bullish on this offense.
Talent and opportunity. I mean, that's all we're really asking for. You're talking about arguably the most talented receiver in this class. You talk about Garrett Wilson not having a lot of target competition. I mean,
I think he sneaky does. Zay Jones, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. I'll ride with those guys. And the running backs, I actually think
see,
more than the Jets.
this is how I know. This is how I know that Gregg's been out of the fantasy community for a while because there's a Gregg Dortch hive that has
Yes,
formed.
Yeah.
Dortch too.
and Trey McBride, like, he's very, very popular.
The human Dortch.
Save that thought. We do have to. We are required to take a tight end, so I
Ooh.
think he will be drafted.
You're up.
Oh,
All right.
I am up.
Yeah, you got back-to-backs.
I'm really regretting the AJ Brown pick now because there's like a drop off at running back. Taylor would have been a better idea. I'm going Puka. This injury, it's a bursa sack injury, Sean McVay said, which typically is just a 1 week injury, so that they're being very careful with him. And I know Cooper Kupp looks better at training camp. Like, I was there for a day. You can't base too much on one day, but Puka's going to be the number one option in this offense. He's younger. He's faster. He's more dynamic. I feel like he is right there with all the wide receivers that we've said so far, really, after the top 3 or 4.
That was going to be my boring pick.
Okay.
So I went splashy.
Dang. Calling me boring.
He's just Puka. Everyone loves Puka.
Oh, really? How do you not? I love the fact, and this has nothing to do with football or fantasy, but I just love the fact that Puka has lived his best life this offseason.
Yes.
mean, like-
lost weight doing it. Like,
Right.
his body looks different.
Right? I mean,
Best
like,
shape of his life.
I'm all here for it. Like, get after it, man. You had a great rookie season. You live in Los Angeles. Like, do your thing, dude. I love it.
So
All right.
is this my pick?
No. It's
I know
back
it's
to Greg.
confusing. It's the snake.
We're going to snake.
We're gonna snake.
to.
Thanks, Walker. Love you, buddy. I'm gonna take the guy you took at quarterback last year, Walker. Actually, I'm gonna take the first quarterback off the board. I do think there's a difference between the top couple quarterbacks and the rest. I'm taking Josh Allen. I'm not really buying the Mahomes is back to QB1 fantasy idea. I think this is Josh Allen MVP season. I don't care about the weapons around him. He's still at the point in his career where he's going to have rushing value, especially towards the end of the season. And I feel good about that because I think the other positions, they're more even with the players that are remaining. I want either Josh Allen or one other quarterback, but I'll take Josh.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to tell me I'm the biggest Josh Allen stan there is. But I'm trying to think from a fantasy standpoint here. Like,
but this isn't a normal draft because we have to fill in all these positions.
Oh, yeah.
and we only know so many are getting taken.
They've both finished their running back room, right? So I
Yeah.
don't think I should take a running back here.
See, this draft does create some.
There's a little bit of strategy.
Yeah, maybe we should proselytize more 4-team leagues. You know.
You know what? I will double down on my Kyler Murray love, and I will take Trey McBride as my.
Woo,
There
there it is.
All
I
right,
thought you were going
there
to
we
take
go.
Kyler Murray.
Instant payoff.
All right. I like Trey McBride.
He's my tight end one.
I mean, he made
Wow.
he made Zach Ertz expendable in Arizona last year.
So between the two of you, Marcus, is Florio the one throwing out hotter takes just to get like a little attention? He's like, hey, I got McBride. Who needs Kelsey?
But here's the thing: McBride was the tight end one with Kyler Murray last year in
Okay.
targets and in fantasy points.
Not a hot take.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take.
Straight facts.
We actually did a tight end rankings pod on around the NFL, and I think we had him as like the number 3 tight end in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
Just reality.
Yeah.
He's that good.
He really is that good. I mean, literally, he got hot last year, and Zach Ertz is like, yeah, I'm a head up. I'm a head out.
I think he just has more competition. So even if he's as good or better, there's just better receivers there than there were a year ago because of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And even Zay Jones, like a healthy Zay Jones. I'm not sleeping on.
But there's more receivers in Kansas City.
Gregg's on the Zay Jones high, but I love it.
I just mean Zay Jones is like a quality rotation receiver when he's out there. He's like a third or fourth. That's Patrick's mocking me.
No, I'm not. I just love it.
I
These
do
guys
love that
snottily looking down.
we
I
no
was
longer,
running fantasy before you were even alive.
We no longer talk about Zay Jones standing up. So that's a.
No, I still talk
we
about
should.
that. Like his
That's
11,
a
his 11
success
cents
for
is
him.
still
No,
amazing.
you wouldn't want to draft Zay Jones in fantasy. I just mean like he's part of a good rotation, and supposedly he's been good at camp. All right,
That's
Marcus,
fair.
you're up.
So I'm looking. I still have one more wide receiver spot. I feel good about the tight ends that are left out there, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm worried that wide receivers hollowing out. So I'm going to take Drake London here.
Yeah, that was my next.
I'm very much a Drake London stan. It's not just me being a USC homer. I mean, I think he's talented. And he finally has the quarterback upgrade we've been asking for, right? No more Desmond Ritters, no more Marcus Mariotas. I mean, the fact that we were sort of like, hey, man, Taylor Heineke, maybe that can make, like, that's kind of where we were at some point. So now it's Kirk Cousins. I'm ready to go with Drake London.
I love that. I think he's set up. Unfortunately, we actually talked about it earlier in the show, an injury to Rondale Moore, which doesn't sound great, but that's a thin group even before that. And I just think this guy, our friend Matt Harmon, he's been talking up that like he's profiled like a one receiver the last couple of years, just hasn't had the opportunity.
Am I on the clock?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Wait, is my clock about to run out? I think
Sometimes we get
we're playing out the
Get
clock.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to go, like,
No, I just got excited because I am going to state a case here,
'Kay.
and I believe it, and I will do so with my pick. I will take Cooper Kupp right here.
ooh,
Right
all right.
now, I
Okay.
realize I'm leaping a lot of wide receivers, a lot of guys that we think great things about, Nico Collins being one of them. I just feel that Puka allows Cooper Kupp to be Cooper Kupp, and he'll be in the slot. He can pile up targets, pile up catches, pile up rack. If you have an injury concern, again, I don't care. I have injury concerns about everybody. It's the National Football League. It's the worst thing about it. So, yes, I will take Cooper Kupp here and feel great about it.
I am not sold that Cooper Kupp is still not the Rams wide receiver one. Because last year, I mean, was a lost year. He had the hamstring injury in preseason. He comes back. He played well. He then had a high ankle sprain that he missed that time, and the next 2 games were weird. But in the games where Kupp, Puka, and Stafford played, they were separated by 2 targets.
Okay, but what about the yards and touchdowns on those
Granted,
targets? Like he wasn't the same
but
guy, so that freaks me out. a
Cooper
little.
Kupp,
I don't think it's a
2
crazy
years
pick.
prior to that was the top 2 wide receiver ever.
I'd rather have Olave, who's still. And now I can just throw the names out there because I'm stacked at right receiver. DK, I'd rather have him than Kupp, but then I'd probably take Kupp.
Okay.
All right. You got one more pick, though, Patrick.
I have one more pick,
You do.
and much to the chagrin of some people sitting at this desk, I will take Kyle Pitts.
Ah!
Second tight end off
No
the board.
second tight end. I'm in.
Wow.
I haven't been in yet. I'm in now. I'm in 2024. Kyle Pitts.
All right. I mean, I'm not back in because I never left. I've been in the whole time. Florio and I have been here the whole time. But welcome. Like we're ready to welcome more folks to the bandwagon.
Glad to
We
be
got
You're
here.
you
taking
and
them
LeBron
over
now.
Kelsey,
I am.
Laporta,
Sure did.
Andrews.
And I'd do it again.
Would you have taken him over McBride?
Yes.
Oh,
I would have. I
Tight
mean,
end 1, Kyle Pitts. Love it.
the value of the particular pick does play. Like I'm not taking either of those guys. Like early,
Right. We only need to take 4 tight ends. in
Yeah,
this draft,
Right.
But
Right.
But yeah, just considering where I am, I feel great about it.
All right.
I feel good about it.
All right. Okay. So now it's back to me here. Well, I'm gonna take a tight end. So I'm gonna. I mean,
it's interesting the tight ends going before the quarterbacks in this class.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, here's the thing. When you draft, you learn when you draft with actual analysts, it's like a game of chicken to see who's going to take the first quarterback. Generally,
I know, but this draft is
it's different.
weird,
I know.
but yeah.
Either way, I'm taking Sam Laporta. Mostly because he's the third tight end off the board now. I think if we talked about Sam Laporta as the first tight end, I would have waited and like gotten a McBride, a Pitts, maybe a Mark Andrews. But like we're talking about him as the third tight end in this draft. Like, yeah, I'll take him. He was the #1 tight end in fantasy last year as a rookie. I don't, again, the situation hasn't really changed much in Detroit. Maybe they can't get better, but I don't think they have a major fall off either.
No, and he runs the route that Jared Goff loves to throw the most, and is maybe the best in the NFL at throwing. It's crazy. I mean, it was maybe the greatest tight end rookie season of all time. Tight ends usually improve a lot.
It
Yeah.
was the best fantasy rookie season ever by a tight end.
Kyle Pitts
That's
was
wild.
sneaky good though. Got over.
No, Kyle Pitts is
He just didn't
very
have.
good.
He had
His
more
rookie year,
yards
yeah.
than Laporta. He just didn't have the touchdowns. I'm up, right?
Sure.
This is a guy I've planted my flag on this year, and it's surprising because he's on my team's biggest rival, but Isaiah Pacheco.
Okay.
I think Isaiah Pacheco is about to be a top 5 fantasy running back, maybe even better this year.
Ooh. Wow, it's a lot of angry running.
He learned how to catch down the stretch last year, and now there's no Jerick McKinnon. His backups are Clyde Edwards-Helaire and a rookie that most of the world didn't know existed before training camp.
All right, going big picture because I'm the only one that has a running back pick left, and I have no idea who I'm going to take. All these guys seem so similar to me. It's again why I made a mistake not taking Taylor earlier. James Cook, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne. I would throw Kamara maybe even in that group. Kyron Williams. I love Ramondre still as like a potential difference maker. Ken Walker. Like those are a lot of guys to me who you could make cases for almost any of them over each other. So maybe it's a year that you wait that round out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a spot, at least for me, where I tend to wait. I'll go wide receiver, maybe a tight end, and then there's some middle round guys. I like James Cook a little bit later. I like David Montgomery a little bit later. Jalen Warren I like a little bit later. So like that's kind of a tier of running backs. I'm like, I'd rather not.
But if you do like one of those names and you get late into your draft and you don't have a positional need, I think it's just fine.
Yeah.
To go ahead and grab that guy.
Yes.
Because that guy will have incredible value in week 5, 6, 7. Like that may win you your league. So like if you believe
You
in
can
it,
never have too many running
go
backs.
snag him.
That's what I believe.
Right.
Who's up?
You.
Oh,
Back to you for two. You get your final
okay. So I
guess.
gotta
Get one of your guys.
choose a tight end, and I'm gonna take Dalton Kincaid for a couple of reasons. One, to stack Josh Allen with him. That's fun on this team. And two, to just like annoy any Chiefs fans out there that yes, Travis Kelce's going undrafted. It just doesn't seem like it's gonna be fun to have
Swifties
Kelsey
are
this
gonna
year. I'm a
come
little
after
worried. Should we be worried? None
Yes,
of us
I
took
mean
him.
he's gonna be the tight end too. Like whatever. Like
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
If he had better touchdown luck last year, finishes as a tight end 1 once again.
I mean, he's gonna be fine, right? Like he's maybe not as great as he once was, but he's still better than 90% of the tight ends out there.
There's like 6 games every season where it seems like he gets old, and I think that's why we all took guys that are ascending. Like I could see Kincaid going for 1,100 yards and being their number 1 receiver.
you can, if you look at the Chiefs' last 4 seasons and add up their playoff games, like eventually, if they have another run, there's an extra
It's an
season
extra
of
season.
football.
They
For
don't
sure.
care about regular season, especially like September, October. He looked like Travis Kelce in the playoffs again, though.
Okay, I'm just gonna stick with my board, stick and pick, like Joe Shane likes to do. He somehow decided that without or anything happened. I don't know. I'm gonna go James Cook. We got three Bills on this team.
Ooh.
That's Derrick Henry is another option, but I'm assuming we're going PPR here. And yeah, I think between the receiving, man, I'm already rethinking Etienne. Etienne is so solid,
Yes.
and yet he doesn't get me going. Can I change my pick?
Sure.
I'm changing it.
You're,
Okay.
I'm changing it midstream.
You're allowed.
That's too many Bills. I'm going Travis Etienne.
All right.
There's like no argument against Travis Etienne going this high. He should
Correct.
go in this draft.
He should, because he has very little competition in that backfield too. I mean, they keep trying to make Tank Bigsby a thing, but I don't think we can't make fetch happen. I just don't think it's going to work.
Press Taylor did say like that Tank had a horrible start, like as bad as a start as he could possibly be, putting the ball on the ground, not having production. But he's still there. He's still going to be a part of the offense. But he also said he would never put a ceiling on Travis Etienne. Like Travis Etienne is going to get.
I mean, he's among the league leaders in touches since he entered the league, and yeah, I feel good. My team's done.
Yeah, I'm about to
Get that graphic ready, Eric. We're going to look at all these teams once we're done. This is our final round. Florio, who are you taking?
I need a quarterback, and I'm very tempted to take Kyler to just have the all Cardinal stack, but I'm going to take a guy that I truly think only Josh Allen and maybe Jalen Hurts rival in upside. I will take Anthony Richardson there.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Spicy.
Saving Richardson for the last round.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess only 4 quarterbacks
Quarterback.
go. I'm very interested to see who doesn't get drafted at quarterback. He's the upside play. He'd also maybe be the best ball play too. Like
If he stays healthy, I truly think it's Allen and Hurts are the only ones that match his upside because he can give you the double-digit rushing touchdowns, but also run for 1,000 yards, which Hurts and Allen.
I mean Lamar.
But Lamar doesn't get the rushing touchdown.
Okay.
in an offense that held Gardner Minshew above the water for a significant amount of time, and eventually,
And got better pass catchers now too.
The coach just the Steichen effect seems real when you look at what's happened with the Chargers and then the Eagles and then the Colts the last
we believe
7 years.
Yep. All right, so I need a quarterback here. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna make Patrick angry. Yeah, I'm taking.
I was gonna.
Oh.
I was gonna be so happy.
I thought about it. I'm like, there's nobody else that I really super like in a 4-team draft, like that I really super love. Like, if I wanted to be really spicy, I could have been like, oh, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's not spicy. Like, if I wanted to be really spicy, I could have been like, Jaden Daniels.
Ooh, that would have been spicy.
That'd have been crazy spicy. Like,
You
not for
wanna-
a 4-team
You could
draft.
always go spicy.
Huh? All right, let's be spicy. Let's go Jaden Daniels.
Hey,
Whoa.
Mostly, only, basically just to
I
make.
mean,
a point.
Lamar's a better pick.
No,
Like,
it is. But this is mostly.
Objectively, he's a better
He
pick.
is objectively. This is mostly to make a point, though, because if we're talking rookie quarterbacks, right? In a 1-year situation, I'm taking Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. If we're talking dynasty, Caleb is the guy. So consider this like a protest pick, a point making
Sure.
flag planting pick. So like if you guys are
What about in a 4-team draft where the listeners vote on who has the best team, though? Is that the best?
then I probably would have stayed with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are crazy.
I
To me,
do love.
to me, Hurts and Josh Allen are 1 and 2
I
in
do
one
love that
some
the
order.
GOAT right now is not going to get drafted.
Well, we'll see.
Our current GOAT.
Well,
Wait, we don't know that.
I mean,
Patrick has the very last pick of the draft. He has a quarterback available.
yeah. If Marcus had stuck with his pick, then I would be drafting one Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. I will not be. I'll be drafting Lamar Demetrius Jackson of the Baltimore
Okay.
Ravens.
Okay. It bothers me Jalen Hurts wasn't picked in this draft, but I get it.
Yeah.
4 quarterback.
Everyone's gonna look at my team and be like, "What are you doing with Jaden Daniels?"
Well, just
And I'm
like
it's
that is
point.
a truck on the goal line. Like people are overly worried that the tush push isn't going to exist. Doesn't matter. He's still going to be one of the best goal line running backs in the league or quarterbacks.
Yeah, and the offense is going to be better, especially than it was towards the finish of the season. I'm ultimately banking this Lamar pick that there will be an overall offensive improvement with Derrick Henry, and not just that Derrick's taking rushing touchdowns. Because again, like Lamar wasn't running the ball in the end zone a whole lot anyway, so I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah.
Well, and the least surprising development of the day, Patrick ended up with Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson.
That's what we love about Patrick. He's consistent. Let's look at our final teams. Eric Roberts, who's back from paternity leave, is working hard on these graphics. We're looking at Team Rosenthal. And again, yes, go on our YouTube page, subscribe, like. You can see my team, Josh Allen, Saquon, ETN, Jefferson, Brown, Puka Nacua, and Kincaid. I like that. It's a frisky team.
My rule of thumb is always like target good offenses, and you did exactly that.
Well, I mean, okay. Actual teams. I was
Yeah,
I hope you're trying to make good offense. Fantasy football. Florio's got Richardson, Brees Hall, Pacheco, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Harrison, and McBride. A lot of projection from the spicy hot take king. That's what I say.
What's projection there besides
Just the
Cardinals?
last 2 guys, the Cardinals. Yeah. That's it. Let's look at
All right,
Marcus.
Daniels with an asterisk because I'm just making a point here. But the rest of it, I love.
That's a strong team. McCaffrey,
Yeah.
Taylor, Chase,
Right.
Wilson, Drake London, Laporta. But, to be real, this is a 4-team draft. Your team better be strong, your starting lineup, or else you're doing something wrong. And then
Right.
finally, Patrick Claybon, the host of Fantasy Live. Lamar, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Devontae.
He's got some youth at running back, but a veteran presence in the wide receiver room.
These guys have run some routes. They've seen some things.
I love my team, but if I could choose another team, this would be the team. Sorry to these men over here.
That's all right.
No, I clearly like explosive running backs and guys who are taking supplements.
In a real life game, if these teams were to play, Patrick seems wins easily, I think.
That does feel like it. Thank you guys for joining. You can check out the NFL Fantasy Football podcast. You must be back a couple times a week at this point.
We are twice a week, and then NFL Fantasy Live starts Monday, August 12th. Check your local listings for times.
Look at that. We still have television shows.
Yeah.
NFL Network, where you check your local listing. Patrick and I will be back, by the way, with Game Day View later this regular season. I'm excited.
I know it's gonna be any, so 2 is great.
Let's do it. For Patrick, Marcas, Florio, I'm Gregg Rosenthal. We'll see you next time.